Beatrice, Re-Zero. Beatrice has been alive for roughly 400 years. Most of that time was spent alone in a single library, bound by a contract she didn't fully understand, waiting for someone she wasn't even sure existed. The youthful appearance isn't something she chose. She's a spirit, and spirits don't age the way humans do. Her body stayed frozen while everything around her kept moving for 4 centuries. What makes Beatrice hit differently once you know her story is the weight behind her eyes. That mix of exhaustion, loneliness, and stubbornness only makes sense when you remember how long she carried it before anyone showed up to share it with her. Shinobu Oshino, Monogatari series. Shinobu is over 500 years old and currently exists in the body of a young girl, which wasn't always the case. She was once something genuinely terrifying. An ancient vampire operating at a level that put her beyond almost any threat she could encounter. Then she lost nearly everything. Her power was drained, her form collapsed into something small, and she ended up bound to Koyomi Araragi through circumstances neither of them fully chose. What remains is a 500-year-old consciousness, carrying every memory of who she used to be, housed in something that looks like a child. The sharp tongue, the quiet melancholy, the donut obsession. All of it makes more sense once you understand that the girl sitting in the shadows has outlived most of the things she ever cared about. Koenma, Yu Yu Hakusho. Koenma has been managing spirit world governance for over 600 years, and he looks like a toddler with a pacifier permanently in his mouth. The show plays this completely straight while also leaning into how absurd it is. But the comedic presentation hides something worth acknowledging. 6 centuries of overseeing the balance between the human world, demon world, and spirit world is genuinely significant. He has watched generations of spirit detectives operate, made decisions that affected entire populations, and navigated political situations most beings never face once in their lives. The baby face is just how he looks. What's behind it has been carrying that responsibility since before most human characters' ancestors were born. Senko, the helpful fox Senko-san. Senko is an 800-year-old divine fox spirit who has decided that what she wants to do with her existence is cook meals and let a tired office worker bury his face in her tail. That choice, made freely by someone who has had 8 centuries to figure out what she values, says a lot about her. Kitsune spirits simply don't age in any way that relates to human biology. The youthful form is just what she is, not something she maintains or performs. 800 years of wisdom, and she still finds genuine meaning in the small, quiet act of taking care of someone. That's not innocence, that's perspective. Rory Mercury, Gate. Rory Mercury is 961 years old, fights with a halberd that weighs 75 kilograms, and looks like a teenager in gothic Lolita clothing. She is an apostle of Emroy, the god of darkness and war, and she has spent nearly a millennium collecting souls on the battlefield in his name. She doesn't age. She won't die. At 1,000 years old, she ascends to full godhood, so she's currently in the final stretch of what most beings would consider an incomprehensibly long existence, spending it doing exactly what she's always done. The gap between how she looks and what she actually is becomes very clear the moment you watch her fight. There is nothing young about the way Rory Mercury moves through a battlefield. Muzan Kibutsuji, Demon Slayer. Muzan has been alive for over 1,000 years and has spent most of that time being the single most dangerous thing walking the earth. He was the first demon, the origin point of an entire species, and his biology simply stopped aging the moment his transformation completed. What he looks like on any given day is essentially a costume. He shifts his appearance, blends into human society, and moves through the world as whoever he needs to be. The control he maintains over his own body is absolute in a way that goes well beyond just looking young. 1,000 years of survival while being hunted by demon slayers shaped someone extraordinarily cautious and extraordinarily ruthless. That combination, across that length of time, is what makes him genuinely difficult to fight. Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. Frieren is over 1,000 years old, and the entire show is built around what that actually means. She watched the hero's party she traveled with grow old and die while she barely changed. By the time she attends Himmel's funeral, she finds herself grieving someone she realizes she never fully tried to know. Because from her perspective, the journey was short. A decade felt like nothing. That disconnect between her timescale and everyone else's is the emotional core of the whole series. She's not cold or unfeeling. She just experiences time so differently that connection requires deliberate effort she didn't always make. Watching her try to correct that, to actually be present with people knowing she'll outlive them too, is quietly one of the most moving things in recent anime. Milim Nava, that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Milim is 2,000 years old and one of the most powerful beings in her world, a demon lord with true dragon lineage running through her. The appearance is completely at odds with both her age and her power level. She presents with the energy of someone young and impulsive, which isn't entirely a performance, but isn't the whole picture either. 2,000 years of existence as one of the strongest entities alive shapes a person in ways that don't always look like wisdom from the outside. The raw power she carries is staggering. The history behind it is longer than most civilizations have existed. She just doesn't particularly feel the need to remind everyone of that constantly. Meliodas, the Seven Deadly Sins. Meliodas is over 3,000 years old and cannot die, which sounds like a gift until you understand what it has actually cost him. He has died countless times over the centuries and come back each time, but the curse that keeps him alive takes something in return. Every resurrection strips away a piece of his emotional capacity. He keeps the memories, but the feelings attached to them gradually hollow out. 3,000 years of that is a specific kind of suffering that the cheerful exterior doesn't come close to communicating. The small body and the easy smile sit on top of something ancient and genuinely tired. Someone who has lost people and versions of himself more times than any human mind could hold. Ajimu Najimi, Medica Box. Ajimu Najimi is approximately 3.4 trillion years old. That number is not a metaphor or an exaggeration. It sits so far outside any frame of reference that it stops functioning as a real quantity and becomes something closer to a philosophical statement. She predates essentially everything. The body she walks around in isn't her actual self. It's an avatar, a shape she's chosen to occupy within a reality she exists, both inside and far beyond simultaneously. She has 128 quintillion, 858 quadrillion, 51 trillion, 967 billion, 633 million, 865 skills. She has watched universes move. At some point, existing for that long stops being a matter of age and becomes something else entirely, something that doesn't have a clean word for it. Ajimu is the ceiling of this list by a margin so vast that second place isn't even in the same conversation. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below if I missed anything.